The doors of the council chamber were 300 feet tall. They opened without sound, revealing a space so vast that clouds formed near its ceiling. Ambassador Marcus Vane stepped forward, his footsteps echoing across the crystalline floor. Behind him walked Admiral Lydia Stone and Dr. Emil Roche, 3 humans. 3 representatives of a species the galaxy had been watching for centuries. The chamber stretched before them like an indoor sky. Floating platforms held the representatives of 947 different species. Some looked like liquid metal. Others were clouds of gas, held together by force fields. Many resembled nightmares, given flesh and thought. All of them stared at the humans with the same expression. Pity. High Arbiter Kolmith rose from the central throne. His body shifted and flowed like mercury, 12 feet tall and gleaming under lights that came from nowhere. His voice filled the chamber without seeming loud. Species designation: human. Origin: Sol 3. Commonly called Earth. You stand before the Galactic Hegemony to receive your classification. Marcus did not bow. He had been instructed very carefully not to bow. Instead, he looked up at Kolmith and waited. Your silence is acceptable, Kolmith continued. We understand that first contact can be overwhelming. Let me explain your situation clearly. The hegemony has observed your world for 300 of your years. We have studied your wars, your conflicts, your struggles over resources. We have analyzed your technological capabilities and social structures. A massive hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. Earth rotated slowly, blue and green, and heartbreakingly small. Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but kept his face neutral. The council has voted on your classification, Kolmith said. The vote was 912 in favor, 35 against. Humanity has been classified as Category 7. Dr. Roche had briefed them on what that meant. Category 7, labor species, slaves. Your population will be redistributed across hegemony mining operations within one standard cycle, Kolmith continued. This is not a punishment. This is simply how the galaxy functions. Strong species guide. Weak species serve. It has been this way for 10,000 years. Marcus took a single step forward. Every guard in the chamber shifted, weapons powering up with sounds like distant thunder. We decline, Marcus said. The chamber fell completely silent. 947 species stopped moving. Even Kolmith's liquid form froze for a moment. I apologize, Kolmith said slowly. I must have misheard. Did you say you decline? That is correct, Marcus replied. Earth declines classification. We will not be joining your hegemony. A sound filled the chamber. It took Marcus a moment to recognize it. Laughter. Hundreds of species. Laughing at the audacity of the humans standing before them. Kolmith raised one flowing hand, and the laughter stopped instantly. Perhaps you do not understand, he said. This is not an invitation. This is not a negotiation. The council has voted. The decision is final. Resistance is impossible. Your species has 17 primitive spacecraft. The hegemony commands 6 million vessels. Your world has no defensive shields. Your weapons are chemical and kinetic. You cannot fight. You cannot hide. You can only accept your place in the natural order. Marcus reached into his jacket. 300 weapons locked onto him instantly. But he only pulled out a small communication device. He held it up so Kolmith could see it clearly. High Arbiter, Marcus said calmly. I was not speaking to you when I declined. I was speaking to my planet. He pressed a single button on the device. 3,000 light-years away, every satellite orbiting Earth received the same signal. Every broadcast tower, every military installation, every ship and station humanity had ever built. One word transmitted simultaneously in every language humans had ever spoken. Wrath. In the council chamber, the hologram of Earth flickered. Then it changed. The peaceful image transformed as something massive emerged from behind Luna, Earth's moon. 1 ship, then 10, then 100, then 500, then 1,000. The chamber erupted in shocked sounds. Species that had never shown emotion before recoiled from the display. Admiral Stone allowed herself a small smile. The ships were unlike anything in the hegemony database. Sleek and dark, built from alloys that seemed to absorb light. Each one bristled with weapons that the hegemony's sensors could not identify. They moved in perfect formation, assembling into a battle fleet that had been hidden for decades. Colmith's form rippled violently. Impossible. We would have detected construction on this scale. Our observation probes were fed false data, Dr. Roche said quietly. For 50 years. Since the day we first detected your signals. We knew you were out here. We knew you were watching. So we prepared. Marcus took another step forward, and this time no weapons powered up. The guards were too stunned to react. You see, High Arbiter, humanity has a saying. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. When we learned about the hegemony, we hoped you would come in peace. We hoped you would offer genuine friendship. But we prepared for this day. The day you would try to take our freedom. The hologram expanded, showing not just the fleet, but massive orbital platforms appearing all around Earth. Weapon emplacements that had been disguised as communication satellites. Defense grids that covered every major population center. Hidden shipyards on the dark side of Luna. You called us Category 7, Admiral Stone said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. You called us weak. You assumed that because we had not developed faster-than-light travel, we were primitives waiting to be conquered. That was your mistake. Marcus held up the communication device again. This is not a weapon. This is just a signal. One word that Earth has been waiting to hear for half a century. And now that we have sent it, everything changes. Colmith's form solidified, becoming denser, more threatening. You dare threaten the hegemony? You dare stand in this chamber and defy 10,000 years of order? Your fleet is impressive for primitives, but you face an empire of millions of ships, trillions of soldiers, resources beyond your comprehension. No, Marcus said quietly. You face something you have never encountered before. Something your empire has avoided for 10,000 years by only attacking the weak. He looked up at Colmith with eyes that held no fear. You face humans who will not bow. You face a species that spent 50 years preparing for this exact moment. You face people who would rather die free than live as slaves. And most importantly, High Arbiter, you face a species that just broadcast a message to every enslaved world in your empire. Dr. Roche pulled out a datapad and began reading. For 10,000 years, you have served in silence. For 10,000 years, you have believed freedom was impossible. Today, humanity tells you this. We are not alone. We will not surrender. And we will free every species in this galaxy. Or we will die trying. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted in hundreds of languages. Some called for immediate military action against Earth. Others demanded to know how humanity had hidden such capabilities. But a few, a small number from the conquered species, sat in silence with something new in their expressions. Hope, Colmith's voice cut through the noise like a knife. You have just declared war on the galactic hegemony. You have signed the death warrant for your entire species. Marcus smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone who had just played their opening move in a game they had been planning for decades. No, High Arbiter. The galaxy tried to enslave humanity, and Earth has decided to answer. With everything we have, with every weapon we have built, with every ship we have hidden, with every strategy we have prepared. He pressed the button on the device one more time. The hologram changed again. This time it showed a ship, larger than the others, moving into position at the edge of Earth's solar system. On its hull, clearly visible even from thousands of miles away, were words in every language the hegemony used. Earth Starship Retribution. And she is not alone. The council chamber fell silent as the reality of the situation became clear. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galactic hegemony had made a mistake. They had tried to enslave a species that was not weak. They had awakened something they did not understand. They had awakened human wrath. 2 weeks earlier, Ambassador Marcus Vane stood in a sealed room deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around the table sat the leaders of every major nation on Earth. The air conditioning hummed, but sweat still beaded on foreheads. Fear filled the room like smoke. Director Pavel Morin stood at the head of the table, his hands shaking as he activated the holographic display. Ladies and gentlemen, we have confirmation. The probe that entered our solar system last month was not peaceful. The display showed the alien probe, sleek and silver, drifting past Mars. It looked harmless. Beautiful, even. But the data scrolling beside it told a different story. Dr. Emil Roche stepped forward. He had spent 3 weeks analyzing every signal the probe had sent. He had not slept more than a few hours at a time. His eyes were red, but his voice was steady. The probe sent an invitation, he began. It asked us to send representatives to meet with the Galactic Council. The message seemed friendly, welcoming, but I noticed something in the linguistic pad. Burns, the word they use that translates to invitation, does not mean what we think it means. He pulled up a comparative analysis. I cross-referenced their language with signals we have intercepted over the past 50 years. This word appears in 73 different contexts. In 72 of those contexts, it means something closer to summons, or in some cases, collection notice. A Russian general leaned forward. Collection notice? Like they are coming to collect garbage? Like they are coming to collect property, Dr. Roche said quietly. The room erupted. Voices overlapped, some angry, some terrified. Pavel raised his hand for silence. There is more, he said. Show them the archive, Doctor. Dr. Roche pulled up a new display. This one showed a list of species. Hundreds of them. Each entry had a date, a planetary designation, and a classification number. For the past 3 years, we have been intercepting hegemony transmissions. We have been building a database. These are all the species that received the same invitation we just received. All of them accepted. All of them sent representatives to the council. And none of them were ever heard from again. He pulled up a specific entry. The Crandall. They received the invitation 90 years ago. They were an industrial civilization, roughly equivalent to Earth in the 1950s. They accepted with enthusiasm. 6 months after their delegation left, hegemony mining ships arrived at their homeworld. The entire population was relocated to mining operations across 12 different star systems. Their planet was stripped of resources and left uninhabitable. He pulled up another entry. The Vex, agricultural civilization. Similar story. Population now serves as laborers on hegemony farming worlds. Their language is forbidden. Their culture erased. The entries kept coming. Species after species. All classified. All enslaved. Admiral Lydia Stone had been silent until now. She stood, and everyone in the room turned to look at her. She was the youngest admiral in the history of the United Space Command, promoted specifically for this moment. We have 3 options, she said. Her voice cut through the fear like steel. Option 1. We refuse the invitation. We send no delegation. We tell them to stay away from Earth. What happens then? Ask the Chinese premier. They invade immediately, Pavel said. Based on our intelligence, refusal is interpreted as hostility. The hegemony does not accept no as an answer. They would arrive within weeks with overwhelming force. Earth would fall in days. Option 2, Admiral Stone continued. We accept the invitation. We send a delegation and hope they are different with us. Hope they see our potential and offer real partnership. That is not what will happen, Dr. Roche said. We have analyzed their psychological patterns. The hegemony operates on a strict hierarchy. Strong species rule. Weak species serve. They target pre-warp civilizations specifically because we cannot fight back. We have no faster-than-light travel. We have no energy shields. By their calculations, we are perfect candidates for enslavement. The British Prime Minister stood. Then what is option 3? Because it sounds like we are doomed either way. Marcus Vane spoke for the first time. All eyes turned to him. He had been chosen to lead the delegation because of his military background and diplomatic skill. But more than that, he had been chosen because he understood how to read enemies, how to find weaknesses, how to win impossible fights. Option 3, he said slowly, is that we accept the invitation. We send a delegation. We play the part of naive primitives who do not know what is coming. And while we do that, we prepare for war. Silence filled the room. We have been preparing, Marcus continued, for 50 years. Since the day we first intercepted hegemony signals. Since the day we realized we were not alone in the universe, and that our neighbors were not friendly. Pavel activated a new display. This one showed Luna, Earth's moon. But the image rotated, showing the far side. The dark side that Earth never saw. The surface was covered in construction. Massive shipyards. Assembly facilities. Weapons platforms. All of it hidden. All of it shielded by technology that made it invisible to hegemony sensors. Project Prometheus, Pavel said. Authorized in 1975 after we recovered a crashed hegemony vessel in Brazil. We reverse-engineered their technology. We developed our own faster-than-light drive. And we built a fleet. The display showed ship after ship, sleek and deadly, built from materials that did not exist in nature. Armed with weapons based on principles that humanity had discovered by studying alien technology and pushing physics to its limits. How many ships? The Japanese Prime Minister asked. 1,216, Admiral Stone said. Each one capable of faster-than-light travel. Each one armed with weapons designed specifically to counter hegemony technology. We have been analyzing their ships, their tactics, their strategies for decades. We know their weaknesses. But we are still outnumbered, someone objected. They have millions of ships. They do, Marcus agreed. But they have never fought a war against equals. For 10,000 years, they have only attacked pre-warp species. Species that could not fight back. They have rigid tactics, predictable strategies. They expect obedience and fear, not resistance and rage. He walked around the table, making eye contact with each leader. The hegemony operates like a machine. Efficient, calculated, but machines can be broken. And we are going to break them. Dr. Roche pulled up another display. The delegation will have a cover mission. Go to the Council, learn about galactic civilization, prepare for Earth's integration. But our real mission will be gathering intelligence. Every weakness, every vulnerability, every tactical flaw. We will be inside their capital, in their most secure facility, and they will think we are harmless. Meanwhile, Admiral Stone added, General Tomoko Hayashi will command the hidden fleet. The moment the Council tries to classify humanity as slaves, we activate Prometheus. Every ship powers up. Every weapon comes online. And we show the hegemony that Earth is not helpless. Pavel looked around the room. This is not without risk. If we fail, if they detect our preparations, they will destroy Earth without hesitation. If we fight and lose, humanity ends. But if we do nothing, we become slaves anyway. At least this way, we fight. The vote was unanimous. Marcus, Lydia, and Emil were given 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to get their affairs in order. 2 weeks before they would board a hegemony transport and travel 3,000 light years to face judgment. On the last night before departure, Marcus stood on a balcony overlooking Colorado Springs. The stars were bright and clear. Somewhere up there, beyond what he could see, was the hegemony capital. Trillions of beings living under tyranny. Hundreds of species that had forgotten what freedom meant. Emil joined him. "Are you afraid?" the scientist asked. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. "But more than that, I am angry." They looked at Earth and saw primitives. They saw resources to exploit. They never considered that we might surprise them. "The Council expects us to be afraid," Emil said. "Every species they have enslaved came to them in fear. But we are not going to them as victims. We are going as warriors." "Not yet," Marcus said. "First, we go as spies. We learn everything we can. And when the moment comes, when they try to take our freedom, we show them what humans are really capable of." Lydia appeared in the doorway. "Transport is ready. It is time." The 3 of them boarded the shuttle that would take them to the hegemony vessel, waiting at the edge of the solar system. As Earth shrank behind them, Marcus sent one final message to General Hayashi. "Prometheus is in your hands now. If we fail, if they detect our plan, you launch anyway. Earth does not bow. Earth does not break. Remember that." The reply came back immediately. "Understood. And Marcus, come back alive. We will need you for what comes next." As the shuttle docked with the alien vessel, Marcus, Lydia, and Emil took deep breaths. They were about to enter enemy territory. They were about to face an empire that had enslaved 600 species. But they carried with them something the hegemony had not encountered in 10,000 years. They carried the knowledge that Earth was ready, that humanity would not surrender, that behind Luna, a fleet waited in darkness for the signal to strike. They carried hope. And soon they would carry something more. They would carry war. The hegemony capital world defied comprehension. The entire star system had been transformed into a massive machine. A Dyson sphere surrounded the sun, harvesting every photon of energy it produced. Planets had been disassembled and rebuilt as factory worlds. Moons served as storage facilities. And orbiting the largest planet was the capital station itself, a structure so vast it had its own weather systems. Marcus stared out the viewport as their transport approached. Trillions of beings lived in this system. Most of them were slaves. He could see the industrial sectors where conquered species labored in conditions that would kill a human in minutes. He could see the residential towers where the ruling species lived in luxury, built on suffering. "Remember the plan," Lydia whispered. "We are here to observe, to learn, not to fight." Not yet, but Marcus could feel the rage building inside him. Every enslaved being he saw was a reminder of what the hegemony wanted to do to Earth. They were escorted to diplomatic quarters. The rooms were luxurious, but Marcus noticed the cameras, the listening devices. They were being watched constantly. That night, Commander Yara Drake made contact. She appeared in their quarters like a ghost, having bypassed every security system with ease. She was part of the infiltration team that had arrived months ago, disguised as traders from a neutral species. Her team had mapped the entire capital, identified key targets, and prepared the way for what came next. Status? Marcus asked quietly. All teams in position, Yara replied. We have identified the central communication relay. It controls the entire hegemony network. Take it down, and they cannot coordinate their forces. But it is heavily guarded. Can it be done? Lydia asked. With the right distraction? Yes, but timing is everything. The moment you give the signal, we move. Emil spread out holographic maps across the table. I have been analyzing their psychology. The hegemony has never been challenged from within. Their security focuses on external threats. They do not expect rebellion from what they consider conquered territory. That gives us an advantage, Marcus said. They will underestimate us until the moment we strike. The next morning, Marcus was summoned to meet with Trade Minister Silvera. She was a crystalline being, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. Her body refracted light into rainbow patterns that hurt to look at directly. Ambassador Vane, she said, her voice like wind chimes. I wanted to discuss the transition arrangements for your species. Marcus sat across from her, keeping his expression neutral. Transition arrangements? Of course. After your classification tomorrow, your people will need to be relocated to their assigned facilities. I have purchased 2 billion of your species for my mining operations. I wanted to discuss how to best integrate them into the workforce. She spoke about humans like they were equipment, like they were tools to be used and discarded. Families will need to be separated, of course, she continued. Emotional bonds reduce productivity, and your language will be forbidden. We have found that preventing slaves from communicating in their native tongue makes them more compliant. Marcus felt his hands clench under the table, but his voice remained calm. And what happens to our world? To Earth? Your planet will be harvested for resources. The oceans contain useful minerals. The atmosphere can be processed. Within 50 years, Earth will be an efficient resource extraction site. Do not worry, though. Your species will never know. They will be working on worlds so far away, they will never learn what happened to their home. She smiled, or what passed for a smile in her species. I find humans fascinating. You are emotional, which is inefficient, but you are also adaptable. You will make excellent workers once properly conditioned. Marcus stood slowly. Thank you for your time, Minister. I look forward to tomorrow's proceedings. As he left, his hand gripped the communication device in his pocket. One word. That was all it would take. One word, and everything changed. But not yet. The timing had to be perfect. That night, Emil accessed the Hegemony archives. What he found made his blood run cold. Marcus, you need to see this, he said urgently. The display showed historical records. Thousands of years of conquests. But one entry stood out. 3,000 years ago, the Hegemony had tried to enslave a post-warp civilization, a species that could fight back. The war had been devastating. The Hegemony had nearly fallen. Billions had died on both sides. In the end, the Hegemony won, but barely. The cost had been so high that they changed their entire strategy. They only attack the weak now, Emil explained. They learned their lesson. They only enslave species that cannot threaten them. Pre-warp civilizations. Species without energy weapons or shield technology. They are terrified of another real war. Lydia studied the data. That means they are unprepared for one. Their military doctrine, their tactics, everything is designed for crushing helpless opponents. If we hit them with coordinated resistance, with weapons they have never seen, we can win. But we need to move first, Marcus said. The moment they try to classify us, we strike. Before they can react. Before they can bring their full military to bear. The day of judgment arrived. The 3 humans were escorted to the council chamber. Marcus walked those long corridors, counting guards, noting weak points, preparing for what came next. When the doors opened and they saw the assembled might of the galactic hegemony, a lesser species might have faltered. But Marcus had prepared for this moment for 2 weeks. Earth had prepared for 50 years. He listened as Kolmith explained the classification. He watched as the High Arbiter displayed Earth on the hologram, showing his homeworld to 947 species like it was a product for sale. And when Kolmith said the words, Category 7, Marcus made his decision. He pulled out the communication device. He said, "No," and he pressed the button. 3,000 light-years away, behind Luna, darkness erupted into light. General Tomoko Hayashi stood on the bridge of the ESS Retribution, humanity's flagship. Around her, 1,200 ships powered up simultaneously. Reactors that had been cold and silent for years roared to life. Weapons that had never been fired, charged with energies that could tear through armor designed to withstand nuclear blasts. All ships report ready, her tactical officer sighed. Tomoko looked at the display showing Earth, beautiful, blue, home, and under threat from an empire that saw it only as resources to exploit. "Send a message," she ordered, "to all ships, to all commanders, to every human in the fleet. Today, Earth fights back. Today, we show the galaxy that humanity will never be enslaved. Today, we declare war on tyranny itself." The fleet emerged from behind Luna, 1,200 vessels, each one a masterpiece of human engineering and determination. They moved in perfect formation, like a school of predatory fish, and they were not alone. The orbital platforms around Earth activated. Hidden weapon systems that had been disguised as satellites revealed their true nature. Defense grids designed to protect the homeworld against any invasion. Back in the council chamber, the hologram showed it all. Every ship, every weapon, every preparation humanity had made. Kolmith's form rippled with shock. "Impossible. Our sensors were fed exactly what we wanted you to see," Emil said. For 50 years, the chamber erupted in chaos. But Marcus was not watching the council. He was watching the guards, calculating distances, planning his next move. When Kolmith ordered the guards to detain them, Marcus activated the localized impedance in his jacket. Every weapon within 100 meters shut down instantly. The guards stood frozen, staring at useless equipment. "Go!" Marcus shouted. The 3 humans ran. Yara Drake and her team materialized from hidden positions, providing cover. They fought through corridors that had never seen combat, past guards who had never faced real resistance. Behind them, the council chamber descended into complete chaos. Some species called for immediate military action. Others demanded to know how humanity had hidden such capabilities. But a few representatives from conquered worlds sat in stunned silence. One of them, a being named Bryn from a mining world, watched the hologram of Earth's fleet with tears streaming down his face. For the first time in his life, he saw something he thought was impossible. He saw Hope. Marcus and his team reach the central communication relay. Yara's infiltrators had already disabled the outer defenses. Now came the hard part. "Plant the charges," Marcus ordered. "The moment this goes down, the hegemony will be blind. Their fleets will not be able to coordinate. Their empire will fragment." As Yara set the explosives, Emil accessed the relay's broadcast system. "I am sending a message to every enslaved world, every conquered species, every being living under hegemony control." His message was simple. You are not alone. Earth fights. Earth resists. And Earth will free you all. The charges detonated. The relay exploded in a cascade of energy. Across the hegemony, communication networks failed. Orders could not be transmitted. Fleets could not coordinate. The machine that had run smoothly for 10,000 years suddenly stuttered and fell silent at the edge of Earth's solar system. Hegemony Admiral Vex arrived with 5,000 ships. His orders were clear: subdue Earth immediately. Show the galaxy what happened to species that resisted. But when he dropped out of faster-than-light travel, he found himself facing General Hayashi and humanity's fleet. "This is Admiral Vex of the Galactic Hegemony," he broadcast. "Surrender immediately, or your world will be destroyed." Tomoko's response was cold and clear. "This is General Hayashi of Earth. Come and try." The Battle of Seoul began with a single shot from the Retribution. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, Marcus stood on the bridge of a captured Hegemony transport, watching another world burn. But this time, it burned with the fires of liberation, not conquest. The mining world of Caldera had been under Hegemony control for 800 years. 50,000 slaves from a dozen different species worked its toxic surface, extracting rare minerals that powered Hegemony technology. They had lived without hope, without freedom, without even names. The Hegemony called them by numbers. Now, as Marcus's liberation force descended, those numbers became people again. The landing was violent. Hegemony guards put up fierce resistance, but they were unprepared for human tactics. Where the Hegemony fought in rigid formations, humans struck from every direction. Where the Hegemony expected obedience, humans brought chaos. Marcus led the ground assault personally. He had changed in 6 months. The diplomat was gone. What remained was a soldier who had seen too much suffering and had decided it would end. They fought through the mine's upper levels. Each chamber they cleared revealed new horrors. Beings worked until they collapsed. Children were separated from parents and trained as future laborers. The Hegemony did not just enslave bodies. They tried to enslave souls. In the deepest chamber, Marcus found him. A being named Bryn, who had been watching broadcasts of humanity's rebellion on smuggled equipment. When Marcus burst through the door, Bryn was leading his own uprising. Slaves armed with mining tools had overpowered their guards and were fighting to reach the surface. "You are human," Bryn said in broken standard. His species resembled large insects, but his eyes held unmistakable intelligence. "Your message? We heard. We believed." "Then fight with us," Marcus said, handing him a proper weapon. "Fight for your freedom." Together, humans and freed slaves secured Caldera. It was the 17th world the Liberation Fleet had freed in 6 months. But it never got easier. Every world showed new evidence of Hegemony cruelty. Back on Earth, Admiral Lydia Stone coordinated the growing resistance from the United Defense Command. The room had been built deep underground, shielded against any attack. Giant displays showed the tactical situation. Across dozens of star systems, the news was both encouraging and terrifying. "Rebellion is spreading," reported Colonel James. "Holt, 43 worlds have risen up against the Hegemony. Slave populations are sabotaging operations, destroying infrastructure, and fleeing to our lines. The Liberation Alliance now includes 17 different species fighting alongside us." "And the Hegemony's response?" Lydia asked. The display shifted, showing Hegemony fleet movements. "Supreme Commander Colmeth has taken personal command of their military. He is consolidating forces. So far, they have destroyed 3 colony worlds as examples. Complete genocide. Billions dead." The room fell silent. Lydia felt the weight of every decision. Every world they liberated became a target. Every species that joined them risked annihilation. "We are outnumbered 50-1, continued Holt. "We win every battle through superior tactics and technology. But each victory costs us ships we cannot easily replace. Earth's industrial output is maxed. We are building new vessels as fast as possible, but the hegemony's production capacity is still greater. Dr. Emil Roche entered the command center with urgent news. I have been analyzing captured hegemony data cores. I found something. Something that changes everything. He activated a new display. The hegemony is not unified by loyalty or shared values. It is held together by a quantum communication network. Every ship, every station, every important facility is connected through this network. Orders travel instantaneously across the galaxy. That is how they coordinate such a vast empire. We destroyed the central relay on the capital, Lydia said. 6 months ago. We destroyed one relay, Emil corrected. But they have redundant systems. The network is still operational, just degraded. However, I believe I can create a weapon that does not just disrupt the network. I can destroy it completely. Every relay, every connection, all at once. What would that do to them? Fragment their empire instantly. Without communication, their fleets cannot coordinate. Their governors cannot receive orders. Enslaved populations could revolt without fear of immediate retaliation. But there is a problem. He pulled up a schematic. The weapon requires immense power. The only power source sufficient is the Dyson sphere surrounding the hegemony capital star. We would need to infiltrate the most protected location in the galaxy and plant the device. Lydia studied the schematic. Impossible with our current forces. Perhaps not impossible, Emil said. But it would require something dramatic. Something that draws away most of their defenses. Back on Caldera, Marcus organized the freed slaves into a resistance force. Bryn proved to be a natural leader. His people had been slaves for so long that they had forgotten their original culture. But they remembered how to hate their oppressors. That was enough. How do we fight them? Bryn asked. We have no training, no ships, no weapons except what you bring us. Marcus looked at the diverse group assembled before him. Beings from a dozen worlds, speaking different languages, but united by one goal. Freedom. The hegemony controls you through fear, Marcus said. They make you believe resistance is hopeless. They make you believe you are alone. But you are not alone anymore. Every world you see freed, you tell others. Every hegemony facility you sabotage, you weaken them. Every day you fight, you prove they are not invincible. He activated a display showing the growing Liberation Alliance. 17 species fight alongside humanity now. 17 species that were slaves 6 months ago. Each one thought they were alone. Each one thought freedom was impossible. They were wrong. Bryn's eyes gleamed. You need something from us. From freed slaves. Something more than just another world liberated. Marcus nodded slowly. The hegemony holds hostages. From every conquered species, they keep populations on secure facilities. Those hostages are why so many enslaved beings still serve the hegemony military. They fight for their masters because their families are held at gunpoint. You want to free the hostages. Bryn said, all of them, simultaneously. And I need help from people who know how the hegemony operates from the inside. People who have worked in their systems. People like you. Bryn thought for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a disturbing expression on his species, but Marcus understood it perfectly. It was the smile of someone who had just seen a chance at revenge. Tell me your plan, human. Over the next 3 months, Liberation forces struck at 14 hostage facilities across hegemony space. Each mission was desperate. Each mission cost lives. But they succeeded. Hundreds of thousands of hostages were freed and evacuated to Alliance territory. The effect was immediate. Hegemony military units composed of enslaved species began to defect. Some fled. Some sabotaged their own ships. Some turned their weapons on their hegemony commanders. The empire was fracturing. But Colmith had one final move. He appeared on every broadcast channel. every display, every communication device in the galaxy. His liquid metal form radiated absolute authority. "To the humans and their so-called Liberation Alliance," he began. "You have won battles. You have freed some worlds. You believe you are heroes. But you forget something crucial." The display behind him changed, showing massive detention centers. Billions of beings. Hostages that had not been freed. Could not be freed because there were too many, spread across too many locations. "I still hold billions of your people," Kolmeth said. "And I have implanted every single one with neural explosives. Microscopic devices woven into their brains. Continue your rebellion, and I will detonate them. 1 billion hostages for every world you liberate from this point forward." The display showed the devices, showed what they would do. It was instant, painless death, but multiplied across billions. "Your move, Ambassador Vane," Kolmeth said. "Surrender now and I will spare the hostages. Continue fighting, and you become the greatest mass murderer in galactic history." The broadcast ended. Marcus stood in the command center on Caldera, surrounded by freed slaves who looked to him for guidance. Lydia appeared on the comlink from Earth. Emil stood beside her. All of them waited for Marcus to speak. He thought about the hostages. Billions of innocent beings. He thought about Earth, about every freed world, about every species that had dared to hope. "We find a way to disable those neural devices," he said finally. "And then we end this. Not just the fighting, not just the war. We end the hegemony, forever." "The devices are controlled centrally," Emil said, "from Kolmeth's personal fortress on the capital. If we could reach that control system, then we need to get to the capital," Lydia said. "But that is impossible. We do not have the forces to fight through their defenses." Marcus looked at the tactical display. At the hegemony capital, protected by thousands of ships and defensive platforms. At the hostage facilities scattered across the Empire. At the Liberation Alliance forces, stretched thin across dozens of star systems. Not an impossible problem. An unwinnable scenario. But humans had been facing impossible odds since the day they stood in that council chamber. "We need a plan," Marcus said. "A plan that makes the impossible possible. And I think I have one. But it is going to cost us everything we have." He pulled up a tactical map and began to explain. As he spoke, the others began to understand. It was brilliant. It was insane. It was exactly the kind of desperate gambit that humanity specialized in. It was also their only chance to save billions of lives and end the war in one stroke. The question was whether they could survive long enough to see it through. The Liberation Alliance assembled the largest fleet it had ever gathered. 400 ships from a dozen species, all converging on one target. The hegemony capital, the heart of an empire that had ruled for 10,000 years. Admiral Lydia Stone stood on the bridge of the ESS Retribution, now the flagship of the entire Alliance fleet. Around her, officers from Earth and freed worlds worked together, united by a single purpose. "This is going to be the bloodiest battle in the history of spaceflight," said Colonel Holt quietly. "Intelligence estimates 20,000 hegemony ships defending the capital. We have 400. 50 to 1 odds," Lydia replied. "Same as always." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. Every ship, every crew, every being who had chosen to fight rather than submit. "This is Admiral Stone to all vessels. You know what we face today. You know that many of us will not survive. But you also know what we fight for. Not just for our own freedom, but for billions of hostages held by an empire that has enslaved the galaxy for millennia." She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the hegemony capital ahead. "Today, we either end tyranny or we die trying. There is no middle ground, no surrender, no retreat. For Earth, for all free worlds. For everyone who has ever suffered under the hegemony's rule. Attack. The fleet accelerated toward the capital. The hegemony defensive grid lit up with thousands of weapon signatures. The battle began. Meanwhile, Marcus Vane and a small strike team approached the capital from a different vector. They traveled in a captured hegemony vessel, broadcasting codes provided by Bryn's intelligence network. As far as the hegemony knew, they were a supply ship. "We have one shot at this," Marcus said to his team. 8 commandos. The best from Earth and allied species. Each one had volunteered, knowing they might not return. We reach Kolmeth's fortress. We disable the neural bomb control system. We plant Emil's quantum disruptor. And we get out. Simple plan, said Sergeant Rita Klein with a grim smile. What could go wrong? Everything, Marcus thought, but did not say that the space battle was unlike anything ever seen. Human ships moved in coordinated swarms, striking at weak points in the hegemony formations. Allied vessels used tactics learned from centuries of slavery, knowing exactly how hegemony ships operated because they had been forced to crew them. Captain Jonas Fleet commanded a wing of destroyers that punched through the outer defensive line. His ships launched thousands of suicide drones, each one armed with singularity weapons. The hegemony had never encountered such weapons before. Miniature black holes tore through shields designed to withstand nuclear blasts, but the cost was terrible. For every hegemony ship destroyed, the Alliance lost 10 vessels. Crews died by the thousands. Ships broke apart in silent explosions. Yet the fleet pressed forward, buying time for Marcus. On the capital's surface, Marcus's team fought through Kolmeth's fortress. The place was a nightmare of crystalline architecture and automated defenses. They lost 2 commandos in the first corridor. 3 more in the second dot by the time they reached the control center. Only Marcus, Rita, and Bryn remained. The chamber was empty except for one figure. Supreme Commander Kolmeth stood before the neural bomb control system, his liquid metal form reflecting the lights of 1 billion hostage monitors. "I knew you would come, Ambassador," he said calmly. "I have been observing humans for 6 months now. You are predictable in your heroism. You cannot resist trying to save everyone." "Deactivate the neural bombs," Marcus said, weapon raised. "It is over. Your fleet is being destroyed. Your empire is collapsing. End this peacefully." Kolmeth laughed. It was a sound like metal scraping on metal. "Over? The hegemony has existed for 10,000 years. You think 6 months of rebellion can end that? Even if you destroy my fleet, even if you kill me, the empire will endure. There are millions more ships, trillions more soldiers. You cannot win." "We already have," Marcus said. "Every world we freed, every species that joined us, every being who learned that resistance was possible. That is victory. You can kill hostages. You can destroy our fleet. But you cannot erase what we have proven. Freedom is possible. And that idea will spread until your empire is nothing but dust." For the first time, Kolmeth's form wavered with what might have been uncertainty. "You would sacrifice billions of hostages for an idea?" "No," Marcus said quietly. "I am going to disable your control system and save them." He pressed a button on his wrist device. Across the fortress, Dr. Emil Roche had been working. While Marcus drew Kolmeth's attention, Emil had infiltrated the fortress's computer core. He had spent months studying hegemony technology, preparing for this moment. The neural bomb control system shut down. Not temporarily, permanently. Every neural device and every hostage became inert. Billions of beings suddenly free from the threat of instant death. Kolmeth's form exploded outward in rage. He became a wave of liquid metal, attacking with speed that seemed impossible for something so massive. Marcus fired, but conventional weapons passed through Colmith harmlessly. Bryn stepped forward. In his hands was a device built from mining equipment and human technology. He activated it, and an electromagnetic pulse filled the chamber. Colmith's liquid metal form solidified, frozen in mid-attack. "For 800 years, my people served you," Bryn said quietly. "We built your technology. We mined the materials that made your empire possible. And you thought we learned nothing. You were wrong." Marcus planted Emel's quantum disruptor on the fortress's power core. "We have 3 minutes," he said. "Move." They ran. Behind them, Colmith's form began to move again, breaking free of the electromagnetic pulse. His voice echoed through the fortress. "You cannot escape. I will hunt you across the galaxy. I will destroy everything you love." Marcus did not look back. They reached their ship as the countdown hit 30 seconds. The vessel launched, racing away from the capital as fast as engines could push it. The quantum disruptor activated. The Dyson sphere surrounding the capital's star released all its stored energy at once. The pulse was invisible, but traveled at the speed of light, spreading across the galaxy. Every quantum relay, every communication node, every connection that held the hegemony together, destroyed in an instant. On the battlefield, hegemony ships suddenly stopped coordinating. Some continued fighting. Others drifted, confused. Still others broke formation and fled, commanders suddenly unable to receive orders or reinforcements. Admiral Stone seized the moment. "All ships, press the attack. Break their lines." The Liberation Fleet surged forward. What had been a desperate last stand became a rout. Hegemony ships retreated in chaos. The defensive grid fell silent as automated systems lost connection to central control. The battle of the hegemony capital was won. On worlds across the galaxy, enslaved beings watched their masters lose the ability to coordinate. Governors could not call for help. Military commanders could not receive reinforcements. The empire that had seemed invincible simply stopped functioning, and on those worlds, rebellions erupted. Slaves became free beings in a single day. Guards were overwhelmed. Hegemony officials were overthrown. In some places, it was peaceful. In others, centuries of rage exploded into violence. The galactic hegemony, which had ruled for 10,000 years, collapsed in a single day. Marcus Vane's ship rendezvoused with the fleet as the battle ended. He was injured, exhausted, and had lost most of his team. But he had succeeded. Status? He asked weakly. Lydia appeared on the com screen. "The hegemony is fragmenting. Their fleet is in full retreat. And Emel's disruptor worked. The quantum network is destroyed beyond repair. Marcus, we won." He should have felt triumph. Instead, he felt only exhaustion. The hostages? Safe, all of them. Neural devices are inert. We are organizing evacuation efforts now. Marcus closed his eyes. Billions of lives saved. An empire ended. Freedom spreading across the galaxy. It had cost so much. So many lives. But it was done. 1 year later, the Liberation Council met for the first time. 312 species sent representatives. Some had been enslaved for millennia. Some were recent additions to the Alliance. All were free. The meeting took place on a neutral world, in a chamber built specifically for this purpose. Unlike the old council, where species were ranked by power, this chamber had equal seating. No thrones. No hierarchy. Just representatives of free people. Admiral Lydia Stone spoke on behalf of Earth. 1 year ago, the galactic hegemony tried to enslave humanity. They believed we were weak because we were young. They believed we would break because we had not yet unified. They were wrong. She looked across the chamber at beings from hundreds of worlds. We did not come to this galaxy seeking war. We came seeking friendship. But when faced with slavery, we chose to fight. And we chose to fight not just for Earth, but for every being suffering under tyranny. The chamber erupted in applause. It was a sound Marcus had never heard in the old council. The sound of genuine respect and gratitude. Ambassador Marcus Vane, now recovered from his injuries, stood at a memorial on Earth. The names of everyone who had died in the war were carved into black stone. Thousands of names. Thousands of humans who had given everything for freedom. Bryn stood beside him. The former slave had become one of Earth's closest allies, helping to rebuild worlds devastated by the hegemony's fall. Was it worth it? Bryn asked quietly. The cost? Marcus thought about that question. About the lives lost. About the world scarred by battle. About children who would grow up without parents. But he also thought about the billions now free. About species rediscovering their cultures. About a galaxy where slavery was no longer accepted as normal. They tried to enslave us, he said finally. They awakened something they did not understand. Not just our weapons. Not just our technology. They awakened humanity's wrath. Our refusal to accept injustice. Our willingness to fight for others, even at great cost. He turned to face Bryn. Yes, it was worth it. Because now, when children across the galaxy look up at the stars, they do not see masters waiting to enslave them. They see possibilities. They see freedom. They see hope. Bryn placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Your species is young, but you taught the galaxy something it had forgotten. That freedom is worth fighting for. That no being deserves to be enslaved. That even the strongest empire can fall if people refuse to submit. Marcus looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, the hegemony's remnants still existed. Some species that had ruled would try to rebuild. There would be more battles, more struggles, but the galaxy had changed. 300 species now stood united. The Liberation Alliance had become more than a military force. It had become an idea, a promise that no world would face tyranny alone. On Earth, 8 billion humans went about their lives, most of them never fully understanding how close they had come to slavery. But they knew one thing. When the galaxy had tried to take their freedom, humanity had answered with everything it had, with strategy, with courage, with technology developed in secret over 50 years, with a willingness to risk everything for what was right. They had answered with wrath, and the galaxy would never forget.